Marcus Reed had dedicated 23 years of his life to military strategy, and it took the Galactic Council exactly 45 minutes to make all of that experience completely illegal. He sat in the auditorium along with 3,000 other suddenly unemployed military personnel, watching Ambassador Glorpnax of the Vixirian Collective Drone on about humanity's concerning enthusiasm for creative violence. The ambassador looked like a blue giraffe that had been stretched through a pasta maker, and spoke with the kind of condescending tone usually reserved for explaining why Yukoi and Eek the crayons. For the safety of the galactic community, Glorpnax announced, his translator rendering his words in that irritating smooth voice all diplomatic devices seemed to have. We have enacted the Universal Peace Through Human Restriction Act. Effective immediately, humans are prohibited from participating in warfare, combat operations, military planning, weapons development, tactical analysis, or any activity that could be construed as aggressive in nature. Marcus glanced around the room. 3,000 faces wearing the exact same expression. Are you kidding me right now? But we're the ones who got attacked, someone shouted from the back. Yes, and your response was... Glorpnax paused, consulting his datapad. Disproportionate. The Zorgath raiders hit one of your mining outposts. You tracked them across 4 systems, infiltrated their home base, and reprogrammed their entire defense network to play Earth's complete collection of disco music. They surrendered within 6 hours. High Command considers this psychological warfare. They started it. Another voice called out. That is precisely the problem. Glorpnax sighed his eye stalks, swiveling to locate the speaker. Humans have a documented tendency to, as you say, finish it with extreme prejudice. In the past decade alone, you have turned 17 conflicts into galactic incidents through what you call proportional response, and the rest of us call terrifying escalation. Marcus had to admit the ambassador had a point. Humanity had a bit of a reputation. When the Kelva Dominion had destroyed a human cargo ship, Earth's response had been to hack their stock market and crash their economy. When the Threen Empire had kidnapped human colonists, humanity had kidnapped their emperor's favorite pet and sent ransom videos of it having a great time at a beach resort. When the Mordaki had declared war, humans had ended it by convincing the Mordaki military that their own high command had been replaced by shape-shifting aliens from a rival species. Humans were, as the Galactic Council had politely phrased it in their official documentation, unnervingly creative at conflict resolution through unorthodox means that technically violate 17 different sections of the Galactic Warfare Convention. You will attend mandatory rehabilitation seminars, Glorpnax continued. You will receive training in proper, peaceful coexistence. You will learn that not every problem requires a military solution. Marcus raised his hand. What happens if someone attacks us? You will file a formal complaint with the Galactic Peacekeeping Force, and they will handle it through proper diplomatic channels. And how long does that take? The current average response time is 6 to 8 months, depending on paperwork processing. The room erupted. Glorpnax raised his 3-fingered hands for silence. This is for your own good, and for the good of the galaxy. Humanity must learn restraint. That evening, Marcus sat in his apartment, staring at his wall of commendations that were now basically just expensive wallpaper. 23 years. He could probably teach, he supposed. Military history was still legal, as long as he framed it as cautionary tales about the dangers of conflict. His entertainment screen was playing some cooking show. The chef was demonstrating something called aggressive seasoning techniques. You don't just sprinkle the pepper, the chef was saying, grinding the mill with enthusiasm. You assault the steak with flavor. You wage war on blandness. You need to be tactical about your spice deployment. Marcus sat up straighter. Tactical deployment. Assault. War on blandness. The chef wasn't banned from using military terminology. He was just using it for a different purpose. The words themselves weren't illegal. The context was what mattered. Marcus grabbed his datapad and started reading through the Universal Peace Through Human Restriction Act. All 743 pages of it. He'd learned a long time ago that every rule had loopholes. You just had to know where to look. And by 3 a.m, surrounded by empty coffee cups and half-eaten takeout, Marcus found it. The ban covered warfare, combat, and aggressive military action. It prohibited humans from engaging in hostile operations with intent to cause harm through violent means. But it said absolutely nothing about peace. Marcus smiled for the first time in weeks. They wanted humanity to focus on peace. Oh, he would give them peace. He would give them so much peace that the galaxy wouldn't know what hit it. Literally, Marcus's first call was to Riley Park, who answered on the third ring with, "Whatever you're selling, I'm not interested. Not selling. Buying. I need an engineer who got fired for creativity." That's most of us now. Marcus, you'll have to be more specific. An engineer who weaponized a coffee maker. There was a pause. It was a really good coffee maker, and technically, I didn't weaponize it. I just made some unauthorized modifications that happened to give it a pressurized delivery system capable of launching espresso shots at supersonic speeds. Perfect. I need that kind of thinking. How do you feel about legally circumventing the peace treaty? I'm listening. The second call went to Commander Jackson Hayes, who'd been Marcus's right hand for the past decade. He found Hayes teaching something called interpretive dance for emotional expression at a community center, which was sad on multiple levels, because Hayes had the rhythm of a malfunctioning cargo loader. "Please tell me you're getting me out of this," Hayes said the moment he picked up. "I just spent 2 hours teaching the box step to people who think it as a metaphor for breaking out of societal constraints. How fast can you assemble a team of what? Your best people. The ones who are going crazy with nothing to do. 5 minutes. They're all here." Interpretive dance is surprisingly popular with former special forces. Nobody knows what they're doing, so nobody can tell you're doing it wrong. 3 hours later, Marcus had 15 people crammed into his apartment, all looking at him with varying degrees of hope and skepticism. "The Galactic Council banned us from war," Marcus began. "They did not ban us from peace." "Pretty sure those are the same thing," someone said. "Just opposite." "No," Marcus said, pulling up his datapad. "War is aggressive action with hostile intent. Peace is the state of non-conflict. What we're going to do is engage in extremely aggressive peace." Riley leaned forward. "I'm intrigued, also confused." "Continue." Marcus displayed the relevant sections of the treaty. "We can't conduct military operations, but we can absolutely conduct defensive cultural exchange programs. We can't deploy weapons, but we can deploy harmony enforcement equipment. We can't engage in combat, but we can definitely engage in proactive peace initiatives." Hayes started to grin. "You magnificent bureaucrat." "They wanted us to focus on peace," Marcus said. "So we're going to peace so hard that people will beg us to stop. We're going to be so peaceful it's terrifying. We're going to resolve conflicts with extreme prejudice and proper paperwork. So we're going to do exactly what we did before," Riley said. "But call it something different." "Exactly, with one key addition. We're going to be obnoxiously compliant with every single regulation. We're going to file the correct forms. We're going to use the approved terminology. We're going to make sure that every single thing we do is technically, legally, absolutely peaceful." "How do you peacefully blow something up?" someone asked. "You don't blow it up," Marcus said. "You facilitate an immediate structural disassembly for safety purposes. You don't shoot someone. You deliver kinetic peace negotiations. You don't invade. You provide uninvited diplomatic assistance." Riley was already sketching on her datapad. "I can work with this." Instead of assault rifles, we build conflict resolution accelerators. Instead of grenades, we develop rapid consensus devices. Instead of tanks, we construct aggressive negotiation platforms. Exactly. And here is the beautiful part. We're going to submit all of this for approval to the Galactic Council as a humanitarian initiative. Hayes laughed. "They'll never go for it." "They will," Marcus said, "because we're going to bury them in paperwork and good intentions. We're going to present this as humanity's earnest attempt to contribute to galactic peace through innovative nonviolent conflict resolution. We're going to use every buzzword and corporate catchphrase in existence. By the time we're done, they won't be able to say no without looking like they're against peace." It took 6 weeks to prepare the presentation. 6 weeks of designing equipment that was absolutely weapons, but technically peacekeeping devices. 6 weeks of writing proposals that made corporate mission statements look concise. 6 weeks of creating the most elaborate loophole exploitation in human history. The presentation to the Galactic Council took 3 hours. Marcus used phrases like synergistic peace, deployment, and aggressive harmony facilitation, and proactive nonviolence initiatives. He showed them designs for the conflict resolution drone, which looked suspiciously like a heavily armed fighter craft but was labeled as a mobile negotiation platform. Ambassador Glorpnax listened with his eye stalks, quivering with what Marcus hoped was approval and not rage. "This is quite comprehensive," Glorpnax said when Marcus finished. "And you maintain that all of this equipment is non-violent." "Completely peaceful, Ambassador. These tools exist solely to facilitate rapid conflict, de-escalation through assertive, diplomatic presence, and the, what did you call it, friendship cannon." Riley stepped forward. "A device for delivering high-velocity expressions of goodwill, Ambassador. Purely symbolic. I see." Glorpnax consulted with his fellow council members for several minutes. Finally, he turned back to the humans. "Your proposal is approved. We are pleased to see humanity channeling its energy into constructive, peaceful endeavors. You may proceed with your defensive cultural exchange program." Marcus maintained his professional expression until they were out of the building. Then he turned to his team and said, "We just got permission to legally wage war on anyone who messes with us. So what do we call ourselves?" Hayes asked. "Marcus Mille de Peace Corps." Riley groaned. "That's already taken." "Exactly. Nobody will suspect a thing." The first test came 3 weeks later when the Scarvix pirates decided that an undefended human mining colony looked like easy pickings. They were the kind of pirates that gave piracy a bad name. Disorganized, poorly equipped, and operating under the mistaken impression that banned from war meant unable to fight. The distress call came in at OC Bio-6-15. Marcus had filed the proper emergency peace deployment authorization form and registered the mission as Operation Gentle Reminder, and scrambled the Peace Corps. Hayes led the team personally because, as he put it, "I've been teaching interpretive dance for 2 months and I need to hit something." The conflict resolution drones arrived. First, they looked like angular wasps made of titanium and bad intentions, bristling with what the official documentation called negotiation payload delivery systems and what everyone else called really big guns. "Attention Scarvix vessels," Hayes broadcast on all frequencies, reading from the approved script. "You are engaging in activities that disrupt the peaceful state of this region. We are here to facilitate your immediate withdrawal through aggressive diplomatic action. Please prepare to receive our terms." "What terms?" The pirate captain responded. "You humans aren't allowed to fight anymore. Council banned you. We know our rights." "Absolutely correct," Hayes said cheerfully. "We're not fighting. We're peacekeeping. Stand by for peaceful negotiations." The negotiation missiles launched with a sound that was distinctly unpeaceful. They tracked toward the pirate ship's trailing fire and what the documentation called kinetic persuasion. "Those are missiles." The pirate captain screamed. "No, sir. Those are aggressive peace proposals with self-guided delivery systems. Please accept them in the spirit of diplomatic cooperation." The first aggressive peace proposal hid the lead pirate ship as engine assembly and peacefully encouraged it to stop functioning. The second one peacefully convinced the ship's weapons array that it would rather be scattered debris. The third one politely suggested to the hull plating that structural integrity was overrated. "You're shooting at us?" "We are facilitating rapid conflict conclusion through kinetic diplomatic outreach." Hayes corrected, as another drone deployed its friendship cannon. Riley had outdone herself with the friendship cannon. It was technically a directed energy weapon. According to the paperwork, it was a concentrated beam of harmonic resolution particles designed to aggressively remove obstacles to peace. When it hit the second pirate ship, the obstacles to peace were removed with extreme prejudice. Also, most of the ship's port side. "We surrender." The pirate captain shouted, "We surrender. Please stop peacekeeping us." "Excellent. Your cooperation is noted and appreciated. Please prepare to be peacefully detained by our cultural exchange tactical team. The tactical team arrived in what was officially designated as an aggressive negotiation platform and unofficially known as, basically, a tank with better PR. They extracted the pirates with maximum efficiency and minimum violence, which is to say they were very polite while restraining everyone with zip ties and stern expressions. "This is insane," one of the pirates muttered as Hayes processed them. "You can't just call everything peace and expect us to believe it." "I don't need you to believe it," Hayes said, scanning the pirate's credentials. "I just need you to surrender to it." Which you did, so clearly it works. By the time Ambassador Glorpnax arrived to inspect the situation, the pirates were peacefully detained. The colony was peacefully saved, and the only evidence of violence was the smoking wreckage of 2 pirate vessels floating in orbit. Commander Hayes, Glorpnax, sighed his eye stalks, examining the scene. "I received reports of weapons fire." "No, sir, Ambassador. Those were aggressive peace proposals, all properly documented and filed under the Defensive Cultural Exchange Program." Glorpnax looked at the destroyed ships. "Those ships appear to have been attacked. They were aggressively negotiated with. Ambassador, the crews are safely in custody and will be processed through proper diplomatic channels. No military action was taken. Only peace was deployed." "I see." Glorpnax reviewed the mission reports on his data. Everything was properly filed, properly documented, properly labeled. This is quite effective peacekeeping. "Thank you, Ambassador. We take our commitment to galactic harmony very seriously." After Glorpnax left, Riley approached Hayes with a grin. He actually bought it. Of course he bought it. We filled out all the forms. We used all the right words. We were technically in compliance with every regulation. Hayes looked at the detention area where the pirates were being loaded onto transport ships. "Besides, we didn't lie. We really are keeping the peace. We're just doing it the human way. By shooting people. By aggressively encouraging them to stop disturbing the peaceful state of affairs. Totally different." The mission reports hit the galactic news feeds within hours. Humanity's new peaceful approach to conflict resolution was hailed as innovative, effective, and surprisingly violent for something labeled as peace. The Galactic Council issued a statement praising human restraint and creativity. Marcus watched the coverage from his office, which was now officially designated as the Department of Aggressive Peace Coordination. "Well," he said to Riley, who was already designing the next generation of friendship cannons, "I think we've successfully proven the concept." "The Scarvix pirates are filing formal complaints," Riley said. "They claim we violated the spirit of the peace treaty." "Did we violate the letter of it?" "Not even slightly." "Then I think we're good." His communicator chimed. 3 more requests for peaceful assistance from human colonies dealing with various problems. Marcus smiled and started filling out the deployment authorization forms. Peace, he decided, was going to keep them very busy. 6 months after Operation Gentle Reminder, the Department of Aggressive Peace had conducted 47 peaceful interventions across 12 sectors. The Galactic News Network ran a special segment titled Humanity as Peace, Revolution, How Humans are Redefining Nonviolence. Marcus watched it from his office, which had grown from a converted apartment to an actual facility with actual staff and an actual budget approved by the Galactic Council. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a conflict resolution blade, which was definitely not a combat knife. "They love us," Riley said, dropping into the chair across from his desk. She had grease under her fingernails from working on the new Mark 7 friendship cannon, which featured improved aggressive goodwill delivery and a faster rate of peaceful fire. "We've got requests coming in from species that aren't even human. The Threen want us to help with a border dispute. The Kelver asked if we could peacefully resolve their piracy problem. We're providing a valuable service," Marcus said blandly, "rapidly facilitating conflict escalation through proactive harmony. Enforcement. We're literally the most requested military contractor in the galaxy. Except we're not a military contractor because that would be illegal." "Exactly. We're peaceful diplomats who happen to carry really aggressive negotiation tools." His communicator chimed. Another request. This one from a Vexarian colony. Marcus started to pull up the authorization forms when Riley's expression changed. "What?" "Check the council feed. The Krellians are making noise." Marcus pulled up the diplomatic channels. Sure enough, there was Ambassador Krexter of the Krellian Dominion, filing a formal complaint. The Krellians were the kind of species that made other aggressive species look cuddly. They had scales, claws, a militaristic culture, and absolutely no sense of humor about humans finding loopholes in peace treaties. The human so-called Peace Corps is a mockery of galactic law, Krexter was saying, his translated voice dripping with contempt. They are conducting military operations under the guise of peacekeeping. They are deploying weapons and calling them diplomatic tools. They are violating the spirit of the Universal Peace through Human Restriction Act, and the Council is allowing it because the humans have buried you in paperwork. Ambassador Glorpnax responded with his usual diplomatic.com. The human programs have been thoroughly reviewed and approved. They operate within the bounds of established regulations. They call missiles aggressive peace proposals. The terminology is creative, but technically accurate. They destroyed a pirate fleet last week. They facilitated the rapid conclusion of a conflict through kinetic diplomatic outreach. The difference is significant. There is no difference. They're fighting wars and calling it peace. Marcus and Riley watched the feed in silence. Finally, Riley said, "He's not wrong." "No," Marcus agreed. "But he can't prove it, and that's what matters." The Krellian complaint triggered a formal investigation. The Galactic Council, ever fond of bureaucracy, established a committee to review human peaceful operations and determine if they violated the intent of the ban. They gave humanity 3 weeks to prepare a defense. "This is bad," Hayes said at the emergency meeting. "If they rule against us, we're back to filing complaints and waiting 8 months for help." "They won't rule against us," Marcus said, with more confidence than he felt. "We've been meticulous. Every mission, every deployment, every piece of equipment is documented and approved. We haven't violated a single regulation, but we've violated the spirit of the regulations," Riley pointed out. "That's what the Krellians are arguing, and they're right." Marcus stood and walked to the window. Below, technicians were loading conflict resolution drones onto transport ships. The drones were painted white with blue accents and had Peace Corps stenciled on their sides in 12 languages. They looked peaceful. Right up until they started negotiating. "The spirit of the regulations," Marcus said slowly, "was to stop humans from being creative about violence, to stop us from escalating conflicts, to stop us from solving problems with military force." He turned back to face his team. "But we haven't been violent. We've been peaceful. Aggressively peaceful. Kinetically peaceful, but peaceful. And more importantly, we've been effective. We've resolved 47 conflicts. We've saved lives. We've protected colonies. We've actually made the galaxy more peaceful. By shooting people," Hayes said. "By aggressively encouraging them to embrace not. And here's the thing. It's working. We have requests from dozens of species. We're popular. The Council couldn't rule against us without admitting that their precious peace treaty made everyone less safe." Riley smiled slowly. "You're going to bury them in statistics. I'm going to drown them in data. I'm going to show them charts and graphs and testimonials from every colony we've helped. I'm going to demonstrate that humanity's approach to peace, while unconventional, is measurably effective. And I am going to do it with so much corporate jargon that they LL approve us just to make me stop talking." "And if that doesn't work?" Hayes asked. Marcus smiled. "Then we peacefully refuse to comply and see how long it takes for someone to attack a defenseless human colony and make the Council look bad for stripping our defenses. That's Darbos. That's politics. Now, let's prepare a presentation that will make their heads spin. We're going to piece so hard at this hearing that they LL have no choice but to admit we rewrite." The Galactic Council chambers were exactly as intimidating as they were meant to be. Vast, circular, with representatives from 47 species seated in ascending tiers around a central presentation platform. Marcus stood at the center with Riley and Hayes flanking him, facing judgment from the most powerful political body in the galaxy, and he'd never felt more confident in his life. "We are here," Glorpnax began, "to determine whether the Human Peace Corps has violated the intent of the Universal Peace through Human Restriction Act. Ambassador Krexter has filed formal Complaints arguing that humans are conducting military operations under diplomatic cover. Marcus Reed will present humanity's defense. Marcus activated his presentation. The first slide appeared, a pie chart showing conflict resolution rates before and after the Peace Corps. Honorable Council members, he began. Let me start with results. In the 6 months since humanity established the Department of Aggressive Peace, galactic conflict incidents in human-protected sectors have decreased by 73%. Average response time to emerging threats has dropped from 7 months to 14 hours. Civilian casualties are down 89%. These are not the statistics of a military force. These are the metrics of effective peacekeeping. Krexter rose from his seat. You destroyed 17 ships last month alone. We facilitated the structural disassembly of 17 vessels engaged in hostile activities against civilian populations. The crews were safely detained and processed through proper diplomatic channels. 0 fatalities. Because they surrendered before you could kill them. Exactly. Our aggressive peace is so effective that most conflicts end before lethal force becomes necessary. Isn't that the goal of peacekeeping? Marcus advanced to the next slide, showing a video compilation of Peace Corps' operations. Each clip was carefully edited and labeled with the proper terminology. The friendship cannon became harmonic resolution beam deployment. The aggressive negotiation, platforms were immobile, diplomatic support vehicles. The whole thing looked like a corporate training video directed by someone who really loved violence, but had to keep it family-friendly. Our equipment, Marcus continued, is specifically designed for rapid conflict, de-escalation, through overwhelming, peaceful presence. The conflict resolution drone, for example, uses kinetic negotiation systems to remove obstacles to peace. Those are missiles. Krexter hissed. Those are aggressive peace proposals with guidance systems. The distinction is clear in our documentation. You're hiding behind terminology. I'm using accurate descriptive language approved by this very council. Marcus pulled up the approval forms, all 700 pages of them. Every piece of equipment, every operational protocol, every mission designation has been reviewed and authorized. We're not hiding anything. We're being transparently peaceful in full compliance with all regulations. Riley stepped forward. If I may, Honorable Council, I'd like to demonstrate the Harmony Enforcement device. She wheeled out what looked suspiciously like a rifle. The council members leaned forward with interest. Krexter looked like he wanted to object, but couldn't quite figure out how. This device, Riley said, loading a demonstration round, delivers concentrated harmonic resolution to targets disrupting peaceful conditions. She aimed at a ballistic gel dummy at the far end of the chamber. Observe the peaceful nature of the wellness check. Say, feed it. The round hit the dummy and transferred enough kinetic energy to make it explode in a shower of gel. The council chamber went silent. As you can see, Riley said calmly, the target has been thoroughly checked for wellness and found to be in immediate need of peaceful intervention. This is accomplished through rapid application of kinetic diplomatic pressure. You just shot it. Krexter roared. I performed a wellness assessment with extreme prejudice. Totally different. The dummy is fine. Well, it would be fine if it were a person who had the good sense to surrender when offered aggressive, peaceful alternatives. Marcus suppressed a smile. Riley had practiced that presentation for a week. Hayes stepped forward next. The council has expressed concern about our tactical operations. I'd like to clarify that the cultural exchange tactical team does not engage in combat. We perform synchronized cultural expression. He activated another video showing the team moving through a hostile situation. It was clearly a military operation, but Hayes narrated it like a nature documentary. Notice the smooth coordination as team members express their cultural identity through rapid positional exchange. The deployment of conflict resolution devices creates an environment conducive to immediate peace. The opposition responds by embracing non-hostility through the universal cultural expression of surrender. This is absurd, Krexter said. But Marcus noticed several council members trying not to laugh. It's effective, Marcus countered. Ambassador, you've seen the results. You've read the testimonials. 47 conflicts resolved with minimal casualties and maximum efficiency. We're doing exactly what the council asked us to do. We're keeping the peace. We're just doing it the human way. Glorpnex consulted with the other council members. The discussion lasted 30 minutes. Marcus stood calmly, hands behind his back, looking like a man who definitely at UNG spent the last 6 months exploiting the galaxy's biggest legal loophole. Finally, Glorpnex turned back to them. The Council has reached a decision. After reviewing the evidence and documentation, we find that the Human Peace Corps has operated in technical compliance with the Universal Peace through Human Restriction Act. The terminology used is unconventional but not inaccurate. The methods are aggressive but demonstrably peaceful in outcome. The operations are well documented and effective. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. However, Glorpnex continued, and Marcos's smile faded. We recognize that humanity may be exploiting certain ambiguities in the original treaty language. Therefore, we are implementing additional restrictions. All peaceful operations must now be approved in advance. All equipment must be inspected and certified as non-lethal in intent. All mission reports must include detailed analysis of how peace was maintained. Marcus nodded seriously, already seeing 3 new loopholes in those restrictions. Furthermore, Glorpnex said, humanity is required to provide quarterly reports on peacekeeping methodologies and outcomes. These reports will be reviewed by a special committee. Understood, Ambassador. We will comply fully with all new regulations. Krexter stood. This is a mistake. You're letting them make a mockery of galactic law. We are ensuring that humanity contributes to galactic peace within appropriate bounds. Glorpnex said firmly. This hearing is concluded. As they left the chamber, Hayes muttered, more paperwork. Great. More paperwork means more time to find more loopholes, Marcus replied. They just gave us job security. Riley laughed. We just convinced the galaxy that war is peace. Orwell would be proud. We convinced the galaxy that peace can be aggressive, Marcus corrected. There's a difference. Not really. No, Marcus agreed. But as long as they believe there is, we're good. 6 months after the trial, the Department of Aggressive Peace occupied an entire orbital station, employed 3,000 people across 40 systems, and had a waiting list of species requesting peaceful intervention. Marcus's office had a view of Earth and a wall of commendations that were now actually relevant again. Riley's latest creation, the Mark 12 friendship cannon, could peacefully resolve conflicts from low orbit with pinpoint accuracy. Hayes had opened the Academy for Advanced Interpretive Negotiation, which was definitely a military training school but had really good branding. The Peace Corps was the most successful, peaceful organization in galactic history, mainly because it was the only peaceful organization that could level a city block if you did unembrace harmony fast enough. Marcus was reviewing mission requests. When his communicator chimed, Glorpnex appeared on the screen, looking pleased with himself in that way that made Marcus immediately suspicious. Marcus, I wanted to personally congratulate you on the success of the Defensive Cultural Exchange Program. The Council has reviewed the quarterly reports, and we're extremely impressed with your results. Thank you, Ambassador. We're committed to maintaining galactic harmony through aggressive, peaceful intervention. Yes, quite. In fact, your program has been so successful that I've been promoted to Director of Peaceful Species Integration. My first initiative will be expanding human peacekeeping methods to other species. Marcus blinked. You want other species to copy our approach? Absolutely. Humanity has proven that peace can be proactive, assertive, and remarkably effective. I am organizing a conference next month to teach other species about creative conflict resolution through properly documented, aggressive diplomacy. I'd like you to be the keynote speaker. After the call ended, Marcus stared at his screen in disbelief. Riley wandered in with coffee and noticed his expression. What happened? Did someone finally figure out we've been waging war this entire time? Worse, Glorpnex wants us to teach other species how to do it. Riley started laughing and couldn't stop. He still doesn't get it. He actually thinks we invented some new form of peace. This is beautiful. This is art. He's giving speeches about humanity's restraint and creativity. He's using us as an example of successful species rehabilitation. He thinks he fixed us. Meanwhile, we've been peacefully destroying anyone who looks at us wrong for a year. Technically, we've been facilitating rapid conflict conclusion through kinetic diplomatic means. Right. Hayes arrived for the morning briefing, looking annoyingly cheerful for someone who spent the previous evening teaching aggressive interpretive movement to a class of former Marines. "We've got 4 new requests," he said, dropping the datapad on Marcus's desk. "Pirate activity in Sector 7. Territorial dispute in the Kelver system. Some kind of trade disagreement near the border. And the Vexarians want us to do a demonstration for their defense force. The Vexarians want to learn our methods. Everyone wants to learn our methods. We're the most successful, peaceful organization in history. We've resolved more conflicts in a year than the Galactic Peacekeeping Force managed in a decade. Because we shoot people. Because we aggressively encourage rapid compliance with peaceful conditions." Hayes corrected with a perfectly straight face. "Totally different." Marcus looked at the mission requests. Sector 7 would be designated Operation Gentle Suggestion. The Kelva situation could be Operation Friendly Reminder. The trade dispute was definitely an Operation Aggressive Mediation scenario. "Load up the friendship cannons," he said. "Let's go spread some peace." 3 hours later, the conflict resolution drones were launching from the station's hangar bay, their white and blue paint jobs gleaming in the sunlight. They looked peaceful. Professional. Diplomatic. Right up until they started negotiating, Marcus watched them go, thinking about the galaxy that humanity had found themselves in, a galaxy that had tried to ban them from war, not understanding that humans didn't need permission to fight back. They just needed proper paperwork. The Galactic Council had wanted humanity to focus on peace, so they'd focused on peace with extreme prejudice. They'd embraced peace with aggressive enthusiasm. They'd committed to peace with kinetic determination. And if peace happened to look a lot like war from certain angles, well, that was just a matter of perspective and proper documentation. Riley appeared beside him, watching the drones disappear into the distance. "Think we'll get away with this forever? Probably not. Eventually, someone will realize what we're doing. And then, Marcus, smile it. Then we'll fill out the proper forms, use the approved terminology, and peaceably explain why we're in full compliance with all regulations. Same as always. The human way. The human way." His communicator chimed with a new alert. Another conflict. Another request for a peaceful intervention. Marcus pulled up the mission planning interface and started typing. Operation Gentle Persuasion. Objective Aggressive Peace Deployment. Methods Kinetic Diplomatic Outreach. Expected outcome rapid conflict conclusion through overwhelming peaceful presence. He hit submit, and the operation was officially approved by the Galactic Council's automated system. Somewhere, Glorpanax would see the report and feel proud of humanity's commitment to peace. He'd never understand that he'd given humans permission to do exactly what they'd always done. They'd just gotten better at paperwork. And that, Marcus thought, as he approved the deployment of 6 friendship cannons and a squadron of conflict resolution drones, was the most human thing of all. Not heaving up, not backing down. Just finding a new way to win. They'd banned humanity from war. So humanity had invented peace that fights back. And it was beautiful. Down in the training facility, new recruits were learning the Peaceful Conflict Resolution Manual, which was essentially close-quarters combat with better PR. In the weapons bay, technicians were calibrating the latest batch of diplomatic pressure devices, which definitely weren't grenades, because the paperwork said so. In the communications center, operators were coordinating 17 simultaneous peacekeeping operations across 8 sectors, each one properly documented and thoroughly aggressive. The Galactic Council had tried to contain humanity's creativity for violence. Instead, they'd just forced humans to get creative about the definitions. War was banned. Peace was mandatory. And humanity had decided that the best way to keep the peace was to make absolutely sure that nobody wanted to disturb it. Because at the end of the day, the most peaceful galaxy was one where everyone knew that messing with humans would result in immediate aggressive diplomatic intervention, featuring the latest in kinetic negotiation technology. They didn't start fights anymore. They just finished them. peacefully, with proper documentation and overwhelming firepower that was definitely not firepower because it said friendship cannon on the side. Marcus Reed had spent 23 years learning how to wage war. It had taken him 6 months to learn something even more valuable: how to wage peace, and the galaxy would never be the same.